Hello, Professor Morgan here showing you how to create and do the source chart assignment for Johnson Community College English 111. The first thing you're going to do is download the source chart template because this is what you're going to be using. It's a document file and you're going to be filling it out. And when I show you the file, what in the world is this? Holy cow. What is this? Well, I'm going to explain. Okay. At its most basic, the source chart is designed to help you, again, find information about the topic you're going to be using in your research paper. And we're going to practice evaluating if it's a good source. We're going to practice different ways that we can incorporate the information we find into a paragraph. And actually, we're going to be creating paragraphs in the source chart that you can use in your final research paper. When I say the final, it's not the final paper for the class per se, but it is the final draft of the research essay. So let's go ahead and get to it. So before we get too far into that, let's go back to Blackboard here. Okay, and you'll notice that these are the kind of like instructions. Okay, so it's like this kind of explains how you do it and what is supposed to be done, and how it's supposed to look when it's done. And I'm going to walk you through this, okay? But you can get more information here. So in case as I'm going through this video, if you want more information, if you just scroll down this page, you can kind of see this. Another thing that I've helped you do is that there is a sample source chart right here, okay? So when you look at that, okay, this is an example of the source chart that has been completed. Okay, so you can see kind of what it's going to look like when you're done. Okay, so that's kind of with that. So let's kind of just start from the very beginning. It's a very good place to start. Okay, so we've learned how to kind of find sources. So we're going to find a source, okay, and just as a very quick way of kind of reviewing a way you could do this to make this easy for you, okay? This isn't cheating when we do it this way, okay? So I'm going to find, let's say the research topic I want to do is on people who are on the autism spectrum and how that can impact their ability to communicate. Okay, so if I go to let's say Google Scholar, this is one of the different things we can do. Okay, and let's say I want to say autism and communication difficulties. That's let's say my topic. It can generate a bunch of different things, and I want to find something that I think is going to be credible. And generally, .com means, commerce, which means that they make something off of that. Okay. .net is something different. EDU is educational. .gov is is for the government. So I'm going to look at this one right here. Social communication difficulties and autism previously for children. Okay. And then here's kind of like some information about it. But most of these sources anymore will have this really cool, somewhere it'll have a cite button. Okay, so if I click cite, okay, I could either do it this way. I could click cite and it can maybe that'll work. But if it doesn't work, I could also just go and let's say I'm going to just copy the name of this the name of this article, and then I'm going to go to the Scribner. This is the Scribner, the MLA citation generator, and I can search by anything. So I'm going to search by this, by that article, okay, and let's see if we can find it. Okay, so this one comes up with a few different ones, and it says written by Levin Fox. Let me double check to make sure that's right. Levin Fox. Okay, so that's it. Yeah, that's the one I wanted. Okay, so I want to get this citation right here. So I'm going to click on that one, and there is right there in text citation. Yeah, I can copy that to the clipboard. So there it is. That's created it for me. So let's just say for giggles, I want that one. And I'm going to copy it to my clipboard. And then I can go back to my works cited or my source chart. And then I'm going to paste it. Boom. Okay, there. That's what I did. Look at that. Okay, fantastic. Okay, and now you have to figure out, okay, what kind of source genre is this? Okay. Um, well, again, if you're not quite sure what that means, go back to Blackboard and see what it says down here. Okay. Source genre. Okay. It's like, it could be, what is this? This is an article found on the internet. Okay. So if I go back to my source chart here, the source genre is, I'm not going to type all this stuff out. Okay. So I would say, source genre is it's an article. I would say this can be, again, what you basically learned on. That's a scholarly article. And then under evaluation, you just say, hey, this is a good source for information because of whatever. This is where you kind of say, I think this is a solid good source because it comes from a credible website, and it has experts that are dealing with that. Okay, and then you summarize. Okay, in a summary sentence, kind of what the article is about, where you could say they have found a connection between individuals with autism and communication difficulties. Okay, so you're basically summarizing that. Okay, now here's the fun part. Okay, and here's the helpful part. You're going to find two quotes from the article. So if you go back to the article, okay, let's just find. Oops, let's go back to the website. Okay. Okay, so let's just find us. I don't know. Let's just say this is the source we want to use. Actually, we don't want it to be more than 2 sentences. Okay, so that's good. Let's say that's the quote we want to have. Okay, so I would copy that, and I would go into let's say that has information that I want it to say, that I want to look into. So I could then paste the quote into there. Okay. So that's the quote that I've taken directly from the source. Okay. Now the next thing I want to do is paraphrase the quote. Now there's whole sources about, how to paraphrase. Again, paraphrasing is basically taking this information and rephrasing it in your own words. Okay. Using your own words to explain this. Okay. You're not copying and pasting. Okay. The next step is integrating and citing the quote. So this is where, again, back to those sources where it's like, that we've learned about how we're properly citing quotes, direct quotes, into a paper. Okay, so integrate and cite a quote. So you could start, when it says integrate, so you would start a sentence of, it's like, in dealing with challenges of whatever, an example of a study showed that, and then this is where I would say, let's say I'm going to just copy this, okay, because I'm integrating this, okay, but then I've got to put in the source where I got that from, 11, okay. And then period. So that's an example of how I could integrate this. And then, you could do more than that. Now, the synthesize the quote. What does that mean? Okay. Synthesize basically means, okay, I have a larger question in, it's like, what is the connection between autism and, let's say, communication difficulties? Okay. Synthesizing the quote means say, okay, based on this bigger question that I have, what does this mean? Well, it says, well, according to, it's like this quote showed that that there was a connection. You're synthesizing, you're taking the information and saying, so let me rephrase the word synthesize. You're taking the information, you're interpreting it and connecting it to the overall question. So synthesizing quote is, again, in your own words, saying, basically, when looking at this study, it really shows that in this particular situation, why those students with autism had these particular connections or concerns. Okay, so at that point in time, so now you've found a quote that you can use for your paper. You've paraphrased it, okay, which I just didn't do because I just for the example of this, I showed you how to integrate it inside it. Then synthesizing, again, is just kind of, again, this is paraphrasing. The difference between paraphrasing and synthesizing is you're just saying this information here in your own words. Synthesizing is, how does this quote connect to the bigger question that you're asking or the bigger thing that you're researching, right? about, which is again autism and communication. That's just an example. Okay. And then you find another quote from the same source. Okay. And do the same exact thing. Where you just kind of sort these out. So this will then give you a couple of quotes that you can then use in your paper that you'll be writing in module number D. Number D, letter D, I guess. Okay. And then after you've filled out this chart right here, then you're going to write a full paragraph where you're going to take these two, basically these two quotes. Either they're paraphrased or you're quoting them directly or something, where you're going to take this information you've learned and write a paragraph that is academically written, right? Okay. So again, let's look at the example here. So this person, they found, like, this is a quote they used, this is a quote they used, and then when they wrote the source paragraph, they actually incorporated those quotes in this thing. And look at that, they even actually, did the proper citations. So this is a paragraph right here that finds the source, evaluates the credibility of it, kind of what is it talking about, how does it, again, for example, like synthesize, it's talking to the bigger picture, and then you can write a basically you're gathering the ingredients, and then you can put it into a paragraph that supports your bigger question of, how does autism and communication, impact communication difficulties or whatever. And this is a paragraph that you could then use in your paper in D. Okay. So for the source chart, you're going to do that not once, not twice, but 3 times. Right? Okay. So you're going to find at least 3 different sources for the source chart, because for your final paper, you're supposed to really find between 5 and 7 sources. But for the source chart, we're going to just start off with 3. Okay. But this is just kind of really, again, do you have to do this for every single of those 5 and 7 sources? No. At the very least, it's showing you, hey, this is how I can find out the proper citation way of doing things, how I can evaluate it, how I can find some quotes, how I can integrate those quotes, what they mean to the overall story, to the overall, topic that I'm talking about. I can practice writing a paragraph that I could then end up using in my actual paper. So by the time you're done, you're going to have, again, you're going to fill out this whole thing. And again, this is all information that is going to help you. And again, and I'm saying this with love, the more time you spend on this source chart, the more time it'll save you in Module D. If you just kind of just do the bare minimum on this to get a grade, and then you get to Module D, you're like, oh man, I really wish I would have spent more time on this. If you get to Module D and you've done a really good job and spent a lot of time on this, you're like, well, gosh, this assignment isn't too bad. So imagine this is an investment in yourself moving forward. So that is how you do the source chart for English 111 at Johnston Community College.